Welcome to Soul Sparks, where we explore the mysteries that shape our spirit. I'm your host Yusuf, and tonight we have Craig Meriwether, a certified clinical hypnotherapist, medical hypnosis specialist, and founder of Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy. Craig has guided countless people through journeys of emotional healing, trauma release, and spiritual awakening. And today, we are venturing into one of the most intriguing frontiers of consciousness, past life regression, and how exploring it can transform the way we see ourselves and our purpose in this lifetime. Craig, honored to have you on this show.
Oh, Yusuf, I'm really excited to be here. This is a fun topic. So I'm ready to jump in. Let's do this.
Yes. So, Craig, for many people, past life regression sounds mystical. How do you describe what actually happens during a session?
Yeah, and it's correct. It is a very mystical experience, but really the idea behind it is just accessing memories. I know there's a lot of misconceptions and myths about this kind of work, and it's that you get taken back to a place where you can get stuck and relive it. It's not unlike me asking somebody, tell me about lunch you had last Tuesday, or every time when you were back in school, or tell me about your earliest memory. You're just accessing a memory, and now there's a whole conversation about where memory is held, and what brain or the mind or outside conscious. That's a 3-hour conversation. Still probably have more questions than answers, but what we're doing in terms of past life regression is extending a little bit further. Take that memory a little bit further, and we have an access point of what is it you're interested in looking at? Are you looking to discover some insights about who you are in this life that may be connected to some sort of past life? Are you looking for some healing? So that will give us kind of the right channel to turn to on the TV, if you will. And it's just accessing a memory. It's kind of just, we're swimming in the shallow end of the pool, and now we're just going to deep into the pool. It's the same pool. We're just kind of going to access a deeper part of it.
Wow. So, what I could understand is that it's not something mystical. It is just that you are retrieving something deep, which is within you, in your subconscious mind, or within deep in your soul, and you just accessing it.
Yeah. It's again, a big conversation, and, a bit of part of why I wrote the book, Past Lives Guidebook, is to kind of, one, just research it for my own self because of my own curiosity, but to
Yeah.
try to explain how this all might work. So it's a really big conversation because we're not just talking about, accessing a memory really. We're talking about time and consciousness and space and memory and the biology of the brain. A lot of research out that consciousness, you recognizing you,
Mm.
is not within the brain. That part of you is not within the skull, but that consciousness is non-local, meaning that not held within the brain. It is somewhere else. And is because of that non-local consciousness,
Mm.
and that some researchers are now thinking that memory is not held within the brain, but that the brain is more of a receiver and transmitter of information, sort of like an antenna. And that there's some research papers out there that say, well, all these memory files of the Akashic records, whatever, however you want to call it, um, is held within 0 point field. And that's that energy field binding everything together. If you were to look at an atom, the atom that makes up everything, makes up me, makes up you, Yosef, makes up the desk I'm sitting at, the computers, the lamp, the atoms of the universe. If you were to look with an electron microscope and you'd see the subatomic particles, you'd see the electrons, the neutrons, the subatomic particles, and then you'd start to get further into the quarks and all the other stuff. But the essence of an atom is this energy.
Mm.
And zero point, because if you take an atom all the way down to freezing, everything should stop. It should be still, but this energy still vibrates, so they call it 0 point field. So sort of like anybody seen the movie Star Wars, the Force, this energy that everything together. There's some researchers out there that postulate that that's where this memory, these past lives, all the information of the universe is held. And so we use this brain of ours, particularly maybe the pineal gland, to access those memories. So again, the memory is not actually held within the brain. You're just using parts of the brain as an antenna to access those memories.
Wow. And there are some skeptics that say that it is something that a hoax, maybe. Uh, Reality and past life memories, these are not a matter of reality, they would say. These are just hoax, mind made things. How do you respond to those people?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of skepticism that can be thrown at
Mm.
all the ideas around past life regression. There's also a lot of skepticism you can throw at this is just one and done and lights out when we take our last breath. I mean, there's no evidence to that. And so it's curious that the people who insist that no, there's only one life and you just live it to the fullest, and when you catch your last breath, that's it, and you disappear. Like, okay, well, show me the evidence of that. Oh, well, there's no past lives. There's no evidence. Okay, I get that you're not accepting this over here. The evidence that is over here. What's your evidence for your beliefs? It's like, well, it's just because I can't prove mine to 100% guarantee, therefore it must not be right. And, yeah, I'm a skeptic as well, and, a true believer at the same time. So and again, that's probably the main reason why I wrote the book, as I write that in the introduction. It's like I wanted to find this out for myself, all the evidence. And between all the evidence that we have the ability to do remote viewing, that was United States of America government research for decades into remote viewing, where you take your consciousness and you can look at other places around planet Earth, even underground, look into the future, look into the past. And, if you want to research on Google, just remote viewing or the Stargate project or things like that. And it's fascinating that the Soviet Union back in the 60s and 70s and the American government were putting millions of dollars into this research, this ESP research to focus on that. While there may not be definitive evidence, there's certainly enough evidence and circumstantial evidence to indicate that this is real. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's experience may be a real. Like, that's think where people get tripped up. But it's like that William James quote that to prove all crows aren't black, I only need one white crow. So to prove life regression is real, I only need one past life regression to indicate it's real. And there's enough evidence of people of the past life book written by Brian Weiss, Dr. Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. He's a left brain analytical academic medical doctor. He had chemistry degree from Columbia University. He has a medical degree from Yale, turned to psychiatry, was head of psychiatry at Mount Sinai in, I believe, Miami, Florida. And he was working with a patient back in 1980 with extreme for a year doing traditional talk, and nothing was working. And he was doing some regression therapy with her using hypnotherapy, regressing her back. Well, she kept going again, just took it a little bit further and accessed life, or anxiety disappeared. Well, they kept doing more past life because he didn't believe it. He's a left brain analytical academic. He doesn't believe this woo-woo stuff. And so they kept working on it because it worked. And because it worked, that she was having emotional release because of his understanding of the human being and the mind and emotions. He came to the conclusion that it was real, and that she actually had this experience because of the emotional release she was having. So she started investigating a lot of the stuff, and this is 1980. There's not the internet back then, so you had to do real research back then. So a lot of the stuff, and he explains it all in the book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and she was getting so much accurate information about the time period she was in, like rare information that you just wouldn't know about, like, oh, the Egyptians built the pyramids. Okay, yeah, we all know that, but more detailed information that would take a PhD to really know. And she was right about it. And then she started getting information about Brian Weiss's life himself, like detailed information that nobody knew. He had a child die really early, like 1 year old or something like that. Really a horrible experience for him. Again, 1980. There's no information about this. There was no obituary. Uh, it's not on the internet because there's no internet. And so she knew this information that was extraordinarily private and only a handful of people knew. And he came to the conclusion, this left brain, analytical, logical thinking academic with a medical degree from Yale came to the conclusion that past lives are real. And then he ended up writing that book, Many Lives, Many Masters. Again, to prove that all crows aren't black, I only need one white crow. And that's just one person in one book, let alone all the other books that talk about this, let alone reincarnation. That aspect too, which is it was a bit of a different path to go down. Michael Newton, he started his research back in the early 1970s because he was a psychotherapist. He was using hypnotherapy to regress somebody back to childhood to resolve some issues. The person kept going, but to spirit world. Now they didn't go to a past soul; they went to spirit world, and that's that soul realm. That life between lives is what Michael Newton calls it, where you're just a soul before you return or come to Earth. And he had this experience, and Michael just fascinated Michael Newton. He wondered if he could do it again, so he started working with people, seeing if he could regress people back to the spirit world, this life between lives on Earth. And he created a protocol around it. And as he worked with people and kind of researched this, people were having similar experiences. This is 1970s. Again, no internet. There's no way to communicate with each other. They're from different parts of the country, different cultures, different ethnicity, different ages. They're having similar experiences of the spirit world, going to similar places in the spirit world, meeting similar kind of people, more beings, spiritual beings. And so he did research all through the 70s and the 1980s. He did about 20 years worth of research with thousands of people and then wrote the book Journey of Souls. Great book. And then he did another decade's worth of research, 1,000 people or so, and wrote the follow-up that came out about a decade later, Destiny of Souls. And they're still doing research. He passed away in 2011, but he set up the Michael Newton Foundation, and for the last, 25 years, they've been still working on the research of this. And again, it's like you start stacking one on top of the other, on top of the other. And while maybe the entirety of the answers of how this all works, how the brain works, is the pineal gland involved? How are we actually accessing this information? Maybe it's not all the way solidified because look at just reality.
Mm.
We have computer simulation theory. We have the holographic universe. We have multiverse. We have all these different theories on how we're experiencing planet Earth as us as human beings. Still can't decide on which one is more the accurate theory on how we're experiencing this reality. So it can't be explained 100% how we're working, accessing past lives. It doesn't mean it's not real. But there's also the aspect of, is that a real past life that person is experiencing, or is it a metaphor the subconscious mind is creating for healing? The way the mind communicates, the subconscious mind communicates is through symbolism and metaphor and allegory and storytelling. I mean, Sigmund Freud said that, Carl Jung said that, Milton Erickson said that. So maybe to some people's experiences, it's something being conjured, if you want to, maybe that's not the right word, but being created by the subconscious mind to create that healing that person is looking for. So really this work is about the healing. or discoveries a person needs to make in order to maybe move forward in this life. And so that's how I approach it. I'm not a past life reader. I don't read the Akashic records or anything like that. Other people do that kind of work, whether they're psychic or medium or Akashic records reader, somebody like that. So I don't tell people what their past lives are. I help guide them to have their own experience. Now, one way or another, I can't prove, maybe, even through historical validation at this point in time. How do I know not, how can I prove they didn't research that before they showed up for the appointment? So, excuse me. Um, so in and of itself, when I'm working with somebody, it's about the healing they're looking for. Maybe they're struggling with anxiety. Maybe they're struggling with anger. Maybe they're, dealing with some hurt and pain that they can't find the root cause of. And oftentimes, I'm not the first person on the list that people call. They've been in talk therapy for years. They've gone to the doctors. They've gone through the life coaching. They've gone through relationship counseling. They've done it all, and they still hurt. And they're still in pain. And they're still angry, or they're still anxious. And they read Brian Weiss's book, or they read Michael Newton's or Dolores Cannon or somebody else. And say, that feels right. You get that little tap on the shoulder from their subconscious mind or their intuition starts ringing a bell. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Maybe I'll try that. And then I get a call and say, can you help me with this? And yeah, oftentimes it resolves the issue because we're focusing again. We want to turn the TV to the right channel because, there's millions of TV channels, not millions, but there's thousands of TV channels nowadays. So you want the right show. Otherwise, you're just picking something. It's like, I don't know. Is it the right one you want to watch? Do you know what you want? Do you know what channel to turn it to? And so same with this, go back to the past life that is, influencing this anger in this current life or anxiety or whatever the person is going through. Maybe they have I live in the mountains of Arizona. Oh, the desert of Arizona is 7,000 feet. If somebody was born here and never left the town, but yet they had a horrendous fear of deep ocean water, why would that be? They've never even seen the ocean. Okay, maybe they watched a movie or something, but if you can't correlate it to anything like, well, I watched this movie or I watched this, and you do a past life regression and find out that they drowned back in, the 1700s on a ship. Is that real? Did that really happen to them? Is that a metaphor the subconscious mind is creating for that healing? I don't know. I can't prove one way or the other, but if their anxiety around ocean water is gone, all right, I'll take that. But again, it's that idea, well, I can't prove to, 100% guarantee that that person's having an actual past life regression as opposed to a subconscious mind creation for that healing. Again, I only need one white crow. All you got to do is read Brian Weiss's book, Many Lies, Many Masters. And so, to me, in terms of, and I know that was probably a long answer to maybe a short question, but if people are still skeptical about it, they're not doing the research. I mean, between Brian Weiss's book, between Michael Newton's, that's just 2 or 3 books right there, let alone Dolores Cannon, let alone my book I just put out, where it has all the research, including all the research on remote viewing and issues around the mind and memory and consciousness and reality, whether it's holographic or multiverse or computer simulation, racking it all together and saying, okay, well, by the end of the book, do you believe in past life regression or not? And I think the evidence leans towards, yeah, this is a real thing.
And I think it is less about proving and more about transforming and feeling what is felt throughout these sessions, throughout this therapy.
Yeah.
I
I think you hit it right on the head. It's about the healing. Yeah.
about that. Let's just say there's someone who is very hesitant to explore this regression technique. How would you say to help them take their first step?
What I generally do if somebody's really new to this, maybe they haven't ever done hypnotherapy before, maybe they've never meditated before. This is entirely new. Last week they found Brian Weiss's Many Lies, Many Masters, and now they want to do it. The first thing I do after many emails and maybe we talk over the phone, um, when we set up the appointment and we have the session, we go through a warm-up exercise. And the warm-up exercise is just using your imagination to pretend like you can close your eyes. I want you to pretend that you're walking down a series of steps. And then I want you to pretend there's a movie theater. And as you walk in the movie theater and up on the screen is your home. And I want you
Mm.
that front door to open on the screen and walk through your front door, wander through your home into your kitchen. Now pretend that you walk into your screen so you're standing in your kitchen. And what color is the refrigerator? Are the lights on or off? Um, what color are the cabinets? Are you're barefoot? Is the floor tile or linoleum or brick or wood? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it, room temperature? And there's your favorite fruit on the counter. I want you to bite into your favorite fruit. And now, like, let's turn the kitchen off. You're back in the movie theater. Now let's turn the movie theater off, and you're just floating and drifting. And we'll do some suggestions about opening up their ability to even have a better experience. To come out this 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I asked you, did you see a movie theater? Yep, it's the one I would go to when I was a kid. Did you see your house? Yep. Went through my house. Was it your kitchen now or a kitchen when you were a kid? Some people, it's the kitchen that they grew up with. Sometimes it's the kitchen they have right now. I had one person, their dream kitchen that they want to build in a few years. Be the kitchen you want to be. But what I find fascinating about this, some people, we turn up lights, we turn down lights, we hear music, change the song, turn it up the volume, turn down the volume. And some people do lights, some people just, audio, visual, kinesthetic kind of thing. Some people turn up lights, some people hear songs, but people always, every single person feels the floor with their feet. They're in my office or we're doing a Zoom call, not like what we're doing here. And they're lying back. Maybe they got slippers on, they got socks on, they got shoes on, but they always imagine themselves barefoot and they can feel the floor with their feet and whether it's cold or warm. And it's fascinating because a lot of people aren't that kinesthetic, touchy feeling. We're more visual. And so when we come out of that and I say, well, okay, when did you turn lights up? Did you turn lights down? Did you zoom out so you can see your neighborhood and then zoom back in to your front door? So yeah, I did all that. It's like, well, that's a passive progression. All we're going to do, you remembered a movie theater. You remembered your house, even though maybe you're in it right now or you left it an hour ago. All we're going to do is take it further. And I may ask about high school. Tell me about a high school memory or tell me about, your earliest memory. Okay. Wait, you remembered your house, remembered the movie theater. You created a staircase inside, outside, however it works. We accessed a memory from maybe high school or college or university or, when you're a little kid. That's all we're doing. Now we're just going to go to the deep end of the pool. And yeah, it really settles them that they like, oh yeah, I can do this. Yeah, super easy.
Yeah, it is very easy, but yet very effective as well.
Mhm. Very, very. It can be very, very healing. I start off my book in the introduction by talking about a person I work with who healed 20 years of chronic hip pain.
Okay.
And I didn't know she was doing it. We always go up to the spirit world, I use the Michael Newton protocol. We always go into spirit world, and that's where we go to the healing place. Always go to the healing place. Even if you didn't specifically say you needed something healed or resolved, let's just go to the healing place if there's something unknown, or at least rejuvenate or restore yourself. And she healed it there and didn't tell me because I give some privacy. We're always having a conversation, not unlike this, because I want to lead and guide and make sure you're okay. I also want to have your voice for the recording, which I'll send. You can listen to it and read the transcript of it. And so even though you're in this trance state, you're in this altered state of consciousness, sort of like meditation, though it's more of
Mm.
a daydream, imaginative state, we're conversing. Tell me what you're experiencing. Well, I seem to be here and I seem to be there, and this seems to be the year, and this is who I am, and this is my name. So you're giving me all this information. And then, okay, let's move to the next important event. You lived to be 90 years in that past life. We can't do all 90 years. So we're going to do 4 or 5 important events that have to do with what you want to discover the insights you want to learn about, the healing, and then we'll move to spirit world. But you're giving me that information. Okay. Tell me more about what you're experiencing. Who is that person? Do you recognize them in this life? And who's coming to greet you in spirit world? And what does that feel like to be a spirit now? And you get all this great information. And so we go to the healing place, but that's a little bit private. And so I give them some space, and that's where she drilled years of hip pain. And it's pretty extraordinary.
Wow. What a profound journey this has been with you, Craig. Thank you. Thank you for illuminating how past life regression isn't just about who we were, it's about understanding who we are becoming. To everyone listening, may this conversation remind you that your story is far greater than this lifetime alone. Keep questioning, keep remembering, and keep your soul sparked.